You know what I call this group?
Group of death.
Group of life.
Oh,
Group of
I'll
life.
take that. I'll take that.
Group of life, because any of these teams can progress out of the group. I mean, any of these
100%
teams.
agree.
I don't have confidence in Belgium. I like what Canada are doing. I think Morocco are now on fire, and then we've seen, Croatia. I didn't have much confidence heading into the World Cup qualifiers. I'm not gonna lie, but they have surprised a whole lot during this Nations League, and I think that's gonna be to their benefit. So, what's your initial thoughts? Because I know you've made a lot of videos about it, but what's one thing that really excites you with this group?
I 100% agree with you on your statement. Group of life. I think every single team in this group should have the belief to make it out. I don't think anyone's crazy. If you're from Canada or Morocco and you believe in your country to make it to the next round, fair play. They both have been very solid sides, but it might be tough against Belgium and Croatia. These are two sides that have done tremendously in the last World Cup. Belgium for third place, Croatia second. So, but a lot of critics have been pointing out that they've dropped within the past 4 years. And they both look to be a bit questionable once this draw happened, of course, because Belgium's golden generation disintegrating, Croatia's as well, where they lost a lot of key players from World Cup 2018. So many people are expecting one of them to fall off in this group stage. But sorry, go ahead.
I'll just say this: I have more questions about Belgium than Croatia.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like that I agree with you right now. I have more questions about Belgium, but when the World Cup draw was first rolled out, it was like, which of these teams is going to flop? And then we saw this Nations League campaign, and now more people are starting to throw belief at Croatia because they were tremendous. They got first place in a very tough group. Belgium got some decent results. They have had a few injuries. Of course, they were experimenting some things, but there are still a lot more question marks about this national team as a whole. I think, and I know some people are saying I'm overreacting to this statement, but especially their defense. I think their defense could leak some goals here with a very energetic Canada squad. A side, yes, in CONCACAF, but still it's a tremendous achievement, scoring the most goals in 2021. I would watch out for that side 100%. Maybe the likes of Toby Alderweireld and Vertonghen won't be able to keep up against the likes of Tejan Buchanan and whoever else starts up at the attacking role.
And you pointed out two fantastic names for Belgium: Toby Alderweireld and Jan Vertonghen. They haven't been able to replace these guys, but like Belgium, otherwise they just got so much talent. But let's see about Lukaku, because he still isn't back healthy. And if Lukaku isn't playing, then Batshuayi, Benteke, I don't know, actually Benteke won't be selected, but if Lukaku is not fit, I think he should be, but how fit will he be for this World Cup? That's going to be a big question mark for Belgium, but I mean, they got so many good players, and they got the best goalkeeper in the world. They have undoubtedly the best goalkeeper with Thibaut Courtois, so
Yeah.
maybe the defense is shaky, but when you got a goalkeeper like that, you're confident. You're confident if you're the defenders, and you got Kevin De Bruyne, you got Trossard who's balling out for Brighton, you still got the likes of Carrasco, Thomas Munir, so they got the quality, but I just feel like with this team, it's just the 2018 was that year. That was the year for them to win the World Cup. The last Euros wasn't the greatest performance, and the Nations League, they had some good results, but the performances against the Netherlands were not the greatest, and I think that's the level that they're going to be at. They're not at the top like they were, but they'll be like around a 16 quarterfinal team for Belgium, and I fully agree. I think Canada, watch out for this team. See, this is a problem because I like all of these sides, and I especially like Canada because I think this team, Jonathan David, you talked about Deschamps Buchanan, Alphonso Davis, who we didn't even mention, like, and John Herdman is by far the best coach in CONCACAF. They're not even a competition. John Herdman, you could almost arguably say, is the best manager in this group, alongside of, well, actually, no, Zlatko Dalic is, but John Herdman is definitely second. So, what do you feel like with Canada? What do you think is their strong point with the team?
Definitely the organization under John Herdman. And just the overall energy, like I mentioned earlier, this side's going to throw out a lot of pace and really could throw off these Giants. I mean, if you got Alphonso Davies on the wide position, he doesn't always play fullback for the national team. He's very versatile for them. So if he plays midfield or attack and he's on the wide position, he could definitely throw in some, who knows, amazing crosses or passes in. Really could be crucial. And Jonathan Jonathan David as well has been scoring loads of goals in Ligue 1. I really think this side can throw off these defensive lines. And the reason why I'm more, and jumping back to that Belgium-Croatia debate, Croatia seemed to fix their back line. Belgium have not. And that's why I would be a bit more worried for Belgium in terms of these underdogs. Because even not just Canada, Morocco as well, they have some very pacey, energetic players. You also got Hakimi on the wide positions. He's been covering so much for the national team as well, as so many roles for them. So I really don't mean to crap on Belgium all the way here, but this is really an open-ended group for any of them.
I agree, and I especially like this Canadian side. I think they can play in a multitude of ways, and they've shown that in the CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers. And I think it was a good test against Uruguay, where they showed you make a couple mistakes, you get punished if you don't take your chances, because they had chances in that game. They just couldn't, they weren't clinical enough. That just shows you the difference in the World Cup. And now that they got a little bit of taste of it, they're prepared. So yeah. I really do like this Canadian side. I think they can surprise. Now, can they progress out of the group? You'll have to wait and see. But they're the best hope for CONCACAF, by far. If they were in the USA's group, I would say they would have finished second, easily. And if the USA were in this group, oh, bye-bye. But Morocco then as well. Like, it was inevitable that Halilhodžić was going to get sacked. It was inevitable. Like, the guy, was a bit of a character. Like, it's just a bit of a character. Ziyech is back. I think now this team, they seem like the morale is better. The team is more unified. And you talked about this individual talent that this team can produce is amazing. When you got the likes of En-Nesyri, Hakim Ziyech, Mazwari, Hakimi, Bono, the goalkeeper from Sevilla. So Morocco are a good team. And I think the key was, unfortunately for Halilhodžić, was to sack him.
Yeah, it's really down to the fact that he had an idea for the national team that, wasn't necessarily bad per se, but I feel like it wasn't going to live up this national team to their full potential if they're leaving out a lot of those key players, and if he's messing with the dressing room situation, leaving out the likes of Ziyech and Mazraoui at the time. I know he fixed his relations with him towards the end of his time with them, but it was too late at that point. Too many broken bridges for him. And now, under Regragui, this side is going to play a lot more freely, and they could be a very surprising team at this tournament.
I agree. And I think they showed in the last World Cup that they are a talented team, and they can attack, they can defend well. And I saw that in the AFCON, when this team is on the counterattack, and, Boufal, for example, as well, if he's going to be selected, they got the individual players who can create a goal out of nothing. And Hakimi from a free kick could be a guaranteed goal. Just saying, could be a guaranteed goal.
Yeah.
And then obviously the last team in this group is obviously your nation's Zlatko Dalic's side. Are you more confident now after the Nations League?
Yes, absolutely. I was not as in high spirits when the draw happened. I was like, this is a tough group. I'm worried about these underdogs. I'm worried about Belgium, who usually do well in group stages. I was not looking too highly about this, but I think that Croatia have definitely stepped up their game. Like I mentioned, that back line has been sorted out. So many youngsters coming in. Gvardiol, Šutalo, Stanisic, Sosa. They have depth in some of these positions as well. I mean, they still can rely on those veterans, Lovren and Vida, if they need to, but I think that they aren't as consistent as these young players. So I think our back line has improved compared to last World Cup, which I don't think a lot of people are talking about. Everyone's looking at Luka Modric and the absence of Mario Mandzukic, and they're just like, oh, it's an aging squad.
And Rakitic as well.
Yeah, and Rakitic and Subasic in the goalkeeper position. Livakovic, solidified as Subasic, I would say. Subasic was a hero in 2018. So many penalty shootouts with him. I couldn't even blame him for his shaky performance in the final because he really brought us so many great memories. I'm not too confident in Livakovic compared to him, but I still think he's a decent option. There still are the keepers to rely on, like Ivo Grbic, for example. So I wouldn't necessarily lose hope in that position. The only position that I think people are right to criticize Croatia for in terms of not being as good as 2018. Yeah,
let me guess. It is the striker.
Yep. Mario Mandzukic is dearly missed. Kramaric has been utilized. Budimir was tested out in the Nations League. And yeah, you already know. He's not the answer for the national team. He's just not.
Was he still trying out Budimir? Really?
Yes, he kept trying him out, and he's just useless, man. I'm sorry. The only thing he did for us was win us a penalty against France, which thank you, Budimir, but like the first match against France, he could have easily scored. Or at least provided an assist. He was away on a perfect opportunity, and we didn't win that match because of him.
So who do you think is going to be the striker then? Or who do you want to be the striker? Petkovic?
It's a tough question. Probably not Petkovic.
Okay.
In terms of the national team level, he isn't the highest. I would say it's a really debatable pick. I think Dalic should still try out Kramaric at the beginning of this campaign. And that will cause controversy. I know he's not consistent.
I'll tell you why that shouldn't happen. I'll tell you why that shouldn't happen. But go on.
I think he still should have hope for him, at least at the beginning. And if he doesn't impress, take him off in that second half. Bring on Livaya, and if he impresses, continue using him because Livaya was incredible in the Croatian league for Hajduk Split, and we saw it happen in the last match against Austria in the Nations League. He scored the game-winning goal to give us that first place spot. Or keep us with that first place spot. He was the difference there, and he was an incredible sub. I wish Dalic tried him out more earlier on, and I still think he has a lot of opportunity to impress the national team, but I think he could be utilized as a sub at the beginning to kind of surprise these teams, bring in that energy, and maybe score some clinical goals in that second half, because Croatia many times proved to be a second half type of team.
That is very true. Now, I like Kramaric, right? I think he's a good player for Hoffenheim. But he's not a striker. I think he's a number 10. I think he can play behind the striker, but he cannot be the lone striker. So, but, I mean, what else does Croatia have? I mean, Petkovic, I actually rate Petkovic, and I know he doesn't perform that well for the Croatian national team, but anytime I see him play for Dinamo Zagreb, I'm like, this guy is like, he's a world beater. Like, he can bully defenses, good link-up play, good touch, but maybe it just doesn't equate that well to the Croatian national team, but yeah, Kramaric, he's the key thing here, isn't he?
It's not the same for Petkovic under the national team, but you can make those same exact arguments about Kramaric. But the thing is, Kramaric, he has made a difference a few times. He has proven himself, but he definitely lacks consistency for us. I think that's his biggest issue. But if it weren't for him, we wouldn't have been in the World Cup 2018. So I still can't hate on the guy.
Valid point. Now, obviously, we don't even need to discuss the midfield. I'll say it right here. It is a top 3 midfield in this World Cup. End of story. Now, there's one guy who was coming off the bench for you. Is it Maier, the guy from Stade Rennes? Yes. That could be also an interesting sort of tactical thing that Zlatko Dalic could do with this World Cup. He's a baller.
Yeah, he is a beast. I am excited to see him play. And he is very versatile. I believe he was using the midfield in that great substitution against Denmark. But he has proven to be a solid winger as well, or a center attacking mid. He's really versatile. He's definitely going to be utilized in this World Cup, I think. I'm not sure if he'll always be starting, but definitely one of our better substitutions.
Okay. Now, I'm going to just diminish a little bit Croatia in this sense that the back line, it's very talented. Is it experienced enough in these big moments, right? The 2018 team, they had the 2016, they had the 2014 experiences of the Euros and the World Cup, but this is a whole new back line. Like, they didn't play it. Did some of them play at the last Euros?
Only Guardiola.
Only Guardiola. So, like, playing at the World Cup in your first major tournament, you're gonna feel it in the stomach a little bit. You're gonna feel those goosebumps and like the nervousness and that sort of stuff. So I think that's one thing to watch out with Croatia. Is the striker and maybe the inexperience with the backline and the goalkeeper. But otherwise, I think this team is talented as heck.
It's not a bad point. Like, I totally see where you're coming from, but that's a huge criticism for the entire Canadian national team. This is their first World Cup. They're going to lack that experience. So that's you know, I think maybe it will take some pressure off them. They'll enjoy the moment, and I think they have every reason to be confident after that Nations League campaign. So I hope I'm still proven right and our backline has improved. Hopefully, don't leak some silly goals, but I really think they're more consistent options that are. A lot of them are just one transfer away to go to a massive club,
and like
one season away. Sorry.
And like I said, with Group B, every game in this group is going to be interesting. I mean, even the first game between Morocco and Croatia, and Belgium, Canada, don't be surprised if Canada win that game. So Like I said at the beginning of this group preview, it's the group of life and no doubt about it.